just hearing the results of it and hearing the symptoms that are involved in this condition. And I was like, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. I was like, oh, even that weird one? Oh, that's related too? Like, it was such a light bulb moment of learning about myself. It was just it was so empowering. I wish it for everyone. I really, like, I remember 10 plus years, 20 plus years of just like weird symptoms that I eventually had to be like, oh, I don't know why this is the way it is, but I guess I'm throwing meds at it. Okay, so I was recently asked a question about hereditary spastic paraplegia and what treatment plan I'm currently doing or am on. And this is a really fun topic because I have information that I gathered from doctors, and I have medications that I am on from doctors, but then I also have things that I learned from being part of the Hereditary Spastic Paraplegia Facebook groups, and specifically for spastic paraplegia type 7, which is the one that I have, the type that I have, and that runs in my family. So I am going to talk about treatment plans. I think I'm going to talk about first what the doctors recommended, and then I'll talk about what I learned. And what I learned, so helpful. Okay, like, I wish you could see, and I do have videos. Maybe I'll get vulnerable one time and I'll share where I was at a couple of years ago versus where I am now and what I have been able to achieve, essentially. So first and foremost, all right, what did the doctors tell me, huh? Okay, so I have been having really painful muscle spasms since, I mean, I've had some when I was a teenager. I had some in my legs. But it wasn't until 2012 or so, 2013, that they really started to progress and get extremely noticeable, and it basically like never went away. And so at that time, we didn't know what I was dealing with. I wasn't diagnosed, but we were treating the symptoms. And so I was instantly put on Baclofen. I think I was on, there were different pain medications. I was never on anything heavy duty. Sorry, I got stolen by a vocal tick there. I was like, it's howdy doody time. Sorry. I was never on any heavy duty pain meds ever in my life, except like after surgery. However, what was I on? I was put on a medication to treat trigeminal neuralgia because I was getting a lot of this tightness on the left side of my face up here. And at the time we thought it was related, well, you know, I had a desk job. We thought it was related to that, but I knew it was also in my neck. And so that sent us to go get an EMG. I had an EMG. I had a few EMGs done. One time it was of my entire left side of my body because I noticed that it would go into spasm. Basically, it was just the same thing, like rely on Baclofen, take Baclofen as needed. That's what I was told. I would get temporary relief. However, I was very big on exercising at that time, which is supposed to be good for you, right? Okay. So I used to do yoga every morning. And then I was also how did I get so strong? I got really strong. I was able to do like pull-ups and everything. I did not lift weights though. I was doing physical therapy twice a week. And then I was also seeing a chiropractor about the same amount, twice or sometimes 3 times a week. I was in a lot of physical pain, and I was having muscle spasms constantly, daily, multiple times daily. And on specific flare-up days, it would knock me out for days. It was awful. And I would start to like double up on my Baclofen to try to ease the muscles, and it did not work. And now there's a reason why it didn't work. I learned a lot since then. Since my diagnosis, I was able to take that diagnosis and the whole world opened up to me, and I was able to actually dive into the research and really start to apply concepts that I'm reading about and be like, okay, Okay, so like professionally, I work in marketing, and I'm used to doing what's called A/B testing, which is where you test one variable against another variable. So like, say I'm running a social media ad, I change the photo 1 week, and then the next week I change it to a different photo, and I don't change anything else, and I just look at those two and I look at the results. And then depending on that, observing the patterns, I then come up with a plan for the next social media ad, you know, like that's what I was doing. But I decided to do that with my own life and my own body. And I learned a lot during that time. I was also really fighting some digestive issues. Oh, there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on at that time. But I was the strongest I had ever been in my life. I was just in a lot of pain, and I had muscle spasms constantly. Because I didn't really have answers, I was also in a lot of mental anguish. It was tough. I had a job that I loved at the time. I had a couple jobs, you know, like I went in and out. But overall, I had a job that I wanted to hold on to, but then I started noticing eye problems. I started noticing hearing problems, and I went through this journey of getting diagnosed and finding out that I, you know, benefited using a hearing aid. And again, all before my official diagnosis of realizing, oh wait, she has a brain tumor on her auditory nerve. Maybe that's why she needs a hearing aid. Yeah. I feel like, oh gosh, you know, it's just trying to survive. It's trying to live your best life with the information that you have at the time. And I'm very incredibly grateful that I finally got the diagnosis. And as soon as I even recorded that conversation too with the genetics counselor, and just hearing the results of it and hearing the symptoms that are involved in this condition, and I was like, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. I was like, oh, even that weird one? Oh, that's related too? Like, it was such a light bulb moment of learning about myself. It was just it was so empowering. I wish it for everyone. I really, like, I remember 10 plus years, 20 plus years of just like weird symptoms that I eventually had to be like, oh, I don't know why this is the way it is, but I guess I'm throwing meds at it. It all kind of ended at that moment, well, not at that moment, after I did research about it and after I empowered myself further by information. Because I'm here to let you know, since the diagnosis, since I got my results back, everything that I learned about that condition has been on my own. It has been through research and joining these groups and applying it to my life. I have not been able to see a doctor who knows about it yet. I have plans. I don't live too far from the Cleveland Clinic. I don't live too far from Michigan. You know, like, I could take day trips, I could do these things and see the people that are actually writing these research and like these studies that are working in my life. I could do that. But for now, I don't have the money. And I don't have the best insurance. So there's that. So, poor man's way of doing it is applying it to my life and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work. Okay, that was a long introduction to the things that I am doing that have made a difference. Okay, and I just started a new one too, which is showing interesting results so far. It's only been it's been less than a week since I've started this new treatment. All right, where do we start? The most empowering, I'm going right for the thick of it. The most empowering information I learned about hereditary spastic paraplegia is that it is a mitochondrial disorder. And so and I don't know the mechanisms, I can't verbalize it very well, so I'm not going to go any deeper than that knowledge. Once I learned that, and I learned what affects mitochondria and how that plays in, I then also learned that it seems to react, anything that throws off homeostasis is going to affect this condition. And so the typical things come to mind. Getting enough sleep, which I don't. Still. I'm working on it. Am I? Some days I work on it. Food was a huge one that I decided to focus on because I knew that I had some things that threw my body out of whack. So yeah, let's start there. Okay, bullet point, food. For me, I had a lot of gut issues for years and years and years and years. And since I was young, I knew I was lactose intolerant. I had been tested for it. It showed I was lactose intolerant. I knew I was lactose intolerant since college, at least. And did I honor my lactose intolerance? Not always. But ever since getting this information, I prioritized taking a lactose enzyme anytime I knew I was going to be having something with dairy in it, with lactose in it. And it has helped immensely. That has definitely brought down the amount of my spasms, my muscle spasms. I also have a sensitivity to, another thing we found through genetics testing was that I could not break down alcohols. So obviously that cut out drinking alcohol, which wasn't too bad, honestly. And then, but here's the thing. Alcohols also show up in items like syrups that are put in coffees. And so I started to notice that I would get very sick after drinking like an iced coffee, and it would mess with my blood sugar, and then I'd get tired, and then I would have muscle spasms, and it would set off my narcolepsy, because I have narcolepsy with cataplexy. I've got a host of neurological idiosyncrasies, weirdo little things. Like the brain tumor, completely weird. Narcolepsy with cataplexy, technically considered an autoimmune disorder, and I wonder what the overlap with that is with HSP, but obviously because HSP is very rare in general, there's not a lot of research. So hoping that it would identify a sleep disorder, I'm not sure. If anyone knows of anything like that, comment. Oh my gosh, let's share. I'd like to learn more. But I have noticed once I really prioritized honoring food sensitivities and not eating things that upset my little tummy, my tum-tum, my energy was better. I did not have as much muscle spasms. They do still happen. I can trigger muscle spasms. They kind of look like, what is that word called? Oh my gosh. I'm drawing a blank. Dystonia. It looks like dystonia. So like for me, my head shoots off this way, and then my hand will shoot off this way, which kind of like makes it see the muscles in this side of my body scrunch, and they and release. And I could probably trigger it right here in front of you. It's very uncomfortable, and it kind of looks like a seizure, and it's a lot on my brain. So I would prefer not to. I do have tons of videos of myself accidentally triggering it. But some days, like, I would have that spasm sensation over and over, and it was like a current. It would release and like tighten up again and release and tighten. It's so uncomfortable. And then it would also be into my stomach and release. It's like the whole side of my left side would do this. And we thought it was migraines at a certain point, but it's just a constant tightening. It's just worse at times. It affected my ability to walk, obviously. I am grateful, though, that it only affects one side of my body as opposed to both my legs. That's not how it affects me, which I am kind of grateful for. It still makes walking difficult. It's why I have a wheelchair. I use canes occasionally. It's not as bad. I am working a lot more on my feet recently. I have gotten, though, but listen to this, okay? I have gotten to the point where I can now work on my feet, though. Like, that's cool. So just that change, just that focusing on foods and really truly listening to which foods did not agree with me and honoring that. And I'd like to add here too, I studied intuitive eating. I used to work for a nonprofit that focused on body image and eating disorder awareness. And I have a prior history of eating disorders, anorexia, way back when. And so knowing that, I then was also learning about intuitive eating. I was taking a course, and I also kind of learned from that, even though I knew the principles beforehand, but it did really like put into my mind, oh, I'm doing like really great work listening to my body and what works for it and what doesn't. And my body, my unique body, my special body. So, because I doubt all of you have lactose intolerance, but you might have other issues. I also have issues digesting MSG. I love Chinese food. It doesn't love me. And then red peppers, I've always had an issue with. Anything that gives you heartburn, you gotta start to limit / avoid / find ways to coat your stomach first and protect your lining. Because once I found that, oh, I just remembered the other one, another one that really helped me. Okay, but that's a big one, okay? Bullet point, food. Secondary, right, very close to this for obvious reasons, blood sugar. This was something I just learned maybe 2 years ago. This was very new information, but I think she goes by Glucose Baby. She's on YouTube. She's from another country. I forget where. And she talks about the science behind blood sugar, metabolizing sugars, and in regards to different conditions like diabetes, obviously, insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all of those. And I learned a lot from her. And one I'd like to share specifically because HSP tends to affect the lower limbs, which is considered the upper motor neurons. Correct me if I'm wrong. I switch them a lot. So even though it's the lower limbs, it's called upper. It's like an upper motor neuron disorder. Sorry. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm feeling a little scattered right now because I'm kind of excited to share this information, and I keep remembering new information that I want to share. But I learned that one of the ways to help regulate your blood sugar if you've eaten a meal that raises your blood sugar level to an uncomfortable level for you, that doing squats actually helps, or like doing calf raises, I think were another one. Essentially, doing activities that involve your lower extremities tends to help balance out blood sugars. And I come from a family who is affected by blood sugar conditions. And it gets me wondering, I was like, well, how does that? I don't know enough yet about blood sugar and diabetes and metabolizing in relation to mitochondrial diseases. But I do know, I did the thing where I connected, I was like, oh, so using these muscles helps reduce blood sugar issues. So does that mean people with HSP, even though it's like a neuro thing, would be more prone towards these issues? And is that why it runs in my family? Like, that's the kind of stuff I was starting to ask. But it helps. And I noticed that in my case, my special body case, mine only, possibly yours, I noticed a difference when I started to, even though I don't have diabetes, I'm not insulin resistant per se, although it runs in my family, so I'm like, noticing it. When I did these squats or these calf raises, if I ate a meal that was higher in carbs, things like that, I noticed that I felt better. I felt less inflamed. And in that inflammation feeling, I often would get my muscle spasms. So I noticed a change with that, like with just that little exercise. And so knowing that, and this is not a plug because I don't really share it with anyone, my husband is a web developer. I'm a graphic designer and marketing. And so we made an app that was tracking your squats, essentially. And it was just the one exercise because I was like, well, if this is good for HSP, like squats are good for building strength. If it's good for HSP and it's also good for like this blood sugar and this inflammation feeling that I'm having, let's make an app. So we did. But yeah, so anyway, we make it fun. You gotta find the fun. which also helps, by the way, with muscle spasms. Actually, it doesn't. I wish it did. That would be an easy one. I laugh all the time. Okay. Yeah, so bullet point food, bullet point blood sugar issues, or blood sugar remedies. Another blood sugar remedy, by the way, is if you know you're about to eat a meal that's heavier in carbs. And I swear by this. It's worked for me every time I do it. Also learned this from the glucose baby person on YouTube, from their science. But I will have a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in water and drink that before a breakfast that's heavy in carbs. And it helps a lot. I don't feel sluggish, I don't feel angry, I don't feel inflamed, and I can go about my day. And because I'm not inflamed, I'm not getting my muscle spasms. So it's helped. It has an effect on my HSP symptoms. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. So yeah. So that's why I'm so excited about this video specifically, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this could help so many people. If your body is like similar to my body, which like HSP, we can all have HSP, right? All of us here, you know, with this rare genetic condition of 80 plus, 80 plus kinds. But that doesn't mean we're all going to react to the same tips, tricks, treatment plans as anyone else, okay? So this leads me to, okay, wait, we did the bullet points. Do I have any others that I want to add? The third is with exercise. Okay, I'll take a breath. Okay, bullet point, food. Bullet point, blood sugar, balancing. Bullet point, pacing. Pacing, pacing. Pacing for exercise. 100% made a huge difference for me. And here's the science. No, I'm not going to give you the statistics. I'm not going to give you the best science. I'll give you an abridged version. So, the science, I learned about DOMS, D-O-M-S, delayed onset muscle spasms. And those are actually normal. They are normal for people that exercise. For some people, they feel it the day after. Their muscles are tighter, like you've torn the muscle so that it can build after strength building. And then the next day it's kind of healing. It makes sense. It's typical. Some people feel it 2 days after. I am a 2 or 3 day after girly. So my muscles, I will become a shriveled up, I don't know what to describe myself as. I will become shriveled up, a shrimp. Oh yeah, I always call myself a shrimp. A little shrimp. Not on both sides though. On the one side. On the left side. And see, even that movement, I feel spastic right now. Ah. Yep, see, that's why I don't do that. Ugh. And so it comes with fascializations, or that one where like the muscles on the entire left side of my body are like going like that. I swear I'm better. This is just, that's why I don't act like a shrimp anymore. But like, I do have to be careful about that muscle tension thing. It also affects my eyesight, which is why I have my eyes closed right now. But here, look. That's what I'm like experiencing on the left side of my body right now. I'm better, guys, I swear. Just follow these tips. Okay, I'm gonna stay very still. It's tight in my, right up here. It like pulls up to my ear and it can make it kind of difficult to talk. So don't mind me. I swear, I haven't experienced this in a while. It was just because I was trying to show you what it looked like. Since we're here and we're buds, when this happens, I also kind of like lose my ability to use my hand. It just kind of like goes like weak, and it's kind of harder to hold out like that. It's very strange, I know, but I don't know. Okay, what was I saying? I think it's passing now, only because I'm like making myself smaller, and so it's not pulling on the muscle as much, so. All right, what was I saying? Oh, pacing, DOMS. Delayed onset muscle spasms are normal, but for people with HSP, they can be exaggerated. Like this. This is pretty exaggerated, right? So, but I have learned that pacing has helped. So I will only do like 15, yeah, it's releasing now. You see it? Okay, I think I'm getting back to normal space. All right, what was I saying? Yeah, so I'll only try to exercise, especially strength training. I will only exercise and pick like 3 strength building exercises and do like, 3 sets, 12 reps, or 15 reps, depending on what it is. But I limit myself, and slow is better in my case, because like if I, as you saw, just like going like that and fake showing you like muscle tension sets me off. And so imagine applying that and trying to lift weights where you are trying to stretch the muscle and you're trying to build the muscle and you're trying to pull against the muscle and build and like aggravate the muscle, will cause a lot of issues if I'm not careful. I do prioritize calmer exercises like Qigong. I love Qigong. I can't do yoga as much because it stretches the muscles too much, and I'm hypermobile. So if I'm overstretching and then my spine gets compressed from just sitting working at a computer, it will trigger the muscle issues as well. I wonder if it has to do with like the neck. I think we're good though. Like my hand's still a little, doesn't want to do much. It's kind of stuck like this a little bit. I'll put it down here though. I think she's good. I think she's good. I think we got me back. Okay. Well, there you go. You got to see it, and I didn't have to put in new or old footage or anything like that. But yeah, I can still trigger it, and it's not very fun though. It's very uncomfortable. Yeah, bullet points. Food, blood sugar balancing, pacing. And anything else? Oh, allergies, other allergies. So I'm allergic to cats and dogs, and I have 2 cats and a dog, and I used to have 2 dogs and 3 cats, and I'm allergic to them. So I take asthma meds, I take a daily antihistamine, and on rare occasions I will have to take a Benadryl if I notice that my symptoms are really bad. But that's the thing, I would take a Benadryl and I would notice it kind of helped my muscles, I think. It helped me relax, it helped muscle spasms a little bit. It wasn't as good as Baclofen. Baclofen is just, but Baclofen makes you super tired, unless you have the pump, which I don't have the pump. I don't want the pump. I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet. But yeah, I'm at a good space. Like all these little bullet points alone, from what I've learned from it being a mitochondrial disorder, and kind of looking at like anything that is going to inflame me, inflammation in my body, I have been focused on that. Hey, Susie from the future editing this video, I remembered another thing that I didn't get to mention in this, which is a bit more uncontrollable, especially if you're a woman. Hormones have an effect on my HSP because it can kind of trigger autoimmune disorders, and it has like a histamine effect. It also will make HSP symptoms worse during certain times of the month. So I don't talk about that in this video, but know that that is something to consider, especially if you're going through major changes like perimenopause or menopause, hysterectomies, what else? or if you have other conditions that affect your hormones like ovarian cysts, PCOS, which I know they renamed and I can't remember the name of that. But things like that can also have an effect. Also like breast health, you know, like just being a woman, progesterone has an effect. Being pregnant, it had an interesting effect on me personally and my muscle spasms at that time. And in fact, it was actually different and it was better. So highly recommend being pregnant to reduce your symptoms. I'm just kidding. Okay. This is not medical advice. If anything, I'm just a comedian. Okay. All right. Continue. The next area that I'm looking on focusing and learning about is stress reduction with that, which I've learned a lot. Like I went through my own mental health journey. You know, I went through a lot of that. I learned a lot of really great reframing tricks and like focusing on the good, and that is just, it does wonders for your stress reduction. So obviously anything that's going to stress you out, let's look into calming that. Oh yeah, I just remembered decompression therapy in physical therapy. So that's what a doctor, like I was referred by a doctor for decompression physical therapy. And did I notice a difference? No, because I was not in a headspace at the time. I was in a headspace at the time to push. And so the fact that I had to like try to connect my brain to my body when all I wanted to do was, I want to do some more pull-ups. I want to do all the yoga and get super toned and strong and stuff. And I was not holding back, but I was in so much pain and I was in so much like spasm, my system, that I was not in a headspace to do that. Plus, at the time, I didn't know that I had hereditary spastic paraplegia. I didn't know. Yeah, we got my hand back. Yay. Just needs a moment, you know? She just needed a moment. She's back. We're dancing. But yeah. Okay. Decompression therapy, physical therapy. I did briefly do, I'm gonna kill that bug. I got it, I think. I did briefly do, what did I do? I briefly, like twice, did aquatic therapy. So I did swimming to try to help, but I didn't do it long enough to see results or anything. However, it felt fun. You know, I like being in a pool. On that note though, dehydration is another big one. Anything that throws your body out of whack. I know these are like diet, exercise, sleeping, recovery. I know they sound like basic, and they kind of are, but these are like the specifics for what I've seen towards muscle spasms. If you are dehydrated, look up. Give me a second. I was gonna be snarky. Look up the symptoms of dehydration and you will see muscle spasms. So, here, okay. All right, this goes into my personal medical history. I did see a rheumatologist and I had some test results come back that pointed towards I might have Sjogren's. Sjogren's is an autoimmune condition that affects and attacks the moisture cells of the body. And the moisture cells are all over. They are in your skin, they're in your eyes, they're in your mouth, there are other places, and they are especially in the brain. So, there are a lot of neurological symptoms that can come along with this. Generally, what flares up my autoimmune condition tends to be the same thing that flares up my muscle spasms. You know, they kind of go hand in hand. Especially now learning like the mitochondrial, there's a lot of overlap, you know, but I have taken it more seriously since learning, especially with narcolepsy. That's also technically an autoimmune condition. So there's a lot of like things attacking me, my body attacking itself to protect itself from dander and air and foods that it didn't like. And all of this. So it's all to try to keep me alive, which is beautiful. Thank you, body. Thank you. However, HSP does weird stuff with proteins in our body, right? And it doesn't clear them out very well. I'm still learning this side of it. So this is bringing me into the newest thing I've started to try to work with the protein filtering system and mechanism of HSP. And I learned this. Oh, my husband just called. I learned this from someone in the Facebook Hereditary Spastic Paraplegia Type 7 group. I mean, there are multiple groups, but let me see if I can find her. I think her name is Donna. And she sent me a lot of this really interesting, yeah, it's specifically for SPG 7 mutant mice. Polakova et al. And it has like the research finding. Yeah, presents critical findings that connect cellular biochemistry directly to physical mobility. And it talks about the biomarker MPTP flickering, the mitochondrial permeability transition pore MPTP is a channel in the inner mitochondrial membrane. When healthy, this pore flickers, briefly opens and closes to release excess calcium and reactive oxygen species, ROS, without draining the mitochondrion's energy. In SPG 7 models, this normal flickering is severely impaired, causing calcium to build up and trigger mitochondrial damage. Okay, so I'm not going to read this whole thing. Actually, I'll read this next part. The in vivo discovery. The researchers successfully linked the restoration of in vitro cellular MPTP flickering to in vivo live subject functional motor improvement on rotarod tests, which is like on mice. So, you know, hasn't necessarily been tested in humans because who are we? We're getting there. It's the early, yeah. But yeah, it's talking about the power of early intervention, regenerative and functional improvements are far more robust and effective when initiated early, before permanent motor deficits and neuropathic damage become fully established. So, I'm not going to go into the research on this, but it did lead into this idea of a certain supplement. And I'm not selling it, okay? This isn't for you guys. If you want to try it, go ahead. But this is called dihydroberberine plus. And what I've learned since looking this up, only because of this, that apparently it's used in metabolism and blood sugar balancing. And so it's really interesting because, like, remember I had noticed, you know, like focusing on blood sugar levels, and like I didn't check my levels or anything, but I knew at one point I would check my levels and I was like, oh, okay. But I knew trying not to get inflamed from that helped. But then to find out that this helps is really interesting. So I just started this. I'll show it to you here. This is what I'm currently using and trying out. The woman that sent me that information, I think in it says specifically 250, and I'm taking 200. And there is a window that's specific that apparently helps HSP. This was not written, this is a research paper. It's not written to sell the supplement, okay? But there was like a combination, I don't know. Now I gotta read it. Yeah, so Donna shared this with me. She's sharing her personal journey and research for educational purposes. It's not medical advice. I'm not giving you medical advice either. I decided to try this out for myself and see. But the form matters, like the dihydroberberine, not the berberine, the dihydroberberine, because it can cause like substantial GI upset twice a day with food. I'm only doing once a day with food. Our nervous system is only as strong as the cellular powerhouses supporting it. So yeah, I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just sharing what helped me and what I'm trying. As you saw, I still get muscle spasms. Literally, you got to see it. You're lucky. Because usually if my muscle spasms are bad, I hide away. I don't let anyone see that. I know it's a sad existence, right? But that's the thing. I have improved with these little bullet points, and now I'm trying this. So bad. I'm not selling it, okay? This is not medical advice. It's just my own personal journey. But thank you, Donna, for that information and that research. And I really like how I was reading the reviews on this medication, and most of the people were people with diabetes or were looking for something to support their blood sugar levels. And I was like, that is fascinating, because I come from a family where my great-grandma, oh my gosh, story time. Oh, okay, so my great-grandma was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I know that she probably had SPG7, because my grandma definitely had SPG7. I'm basing all of my symptoms off of what I witnessed with her, especially the eye symptoms. And look who has SPG7, and then I'm not the only one in my family right now, but I'm not pointing fingers, even though they like to be they can be in denial. Their symptoms aren't as bad as mine. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. But yeah, was I lucky enough? I was not lucky. Lucky enough to have symptoms early and bad enough that prompted me to really go on this journey of finding out what the heck. And so I don't know. I mean, I've learned so much and I've improved. Like, I know that didn't look like it, but those symptoms like this used to happen like 20 times a day. And like, I would be so self-conscious about it, and I'd be hiding, and I'd be like, what is going on? I'd be so anxious about it, which would make the muscle spasms worse. Yeah. But I found things that worked for me. The diagnosis, the information, the genetics results empowered me to be able to go find my own information. Now, I wish that it had come from a doctor. I am not so arrogant to assume that I know more than a doctor. I don't. But I've had to think like a doctor at this point. I've had to go into the research. I've had to advocate for myself. I've had to seek answers around a neurologist, because every neurologist I saw just saw a young woman. And here's the interesting thing. I'll just go into my history just for a second. I would go in my wheelchair and they would just assume I was malingering or that I didn't need it. And I didn't know how to verbalize what I was experiencing. And so they just assume I was making it up and that it was in my head. Even though I could show them videos, I could show them how, like, the impact, I could tell them, but something about me triggered their bias. And I could not get the help that I needed. And one of those things is my prior history of, anxiety and OCD. Not helpful, but what you gonna do? Like, I am who I am. And so, I mean, it was a little confusing, because they had to rule out whether I was experiencing Tourette's, because, like, were these muscle spasms Tourette's? Nope, they're not. Nope, they're not tics. It's definitely the muscle. It's definitely the brain. There's some kind of disconnect there. And it's gotten worse. It's gotten more active. However, I was able to make some improvement. And that is me here talking about my improvements. So I'm grateful for that. I have a smile on my face. Sure, this could get worse, and it might. But I've got a wheelchair. I've got some things. But even more important is I have the knowledge. I have the information. I've been able to see what helped me and what doesn't. I know myself. It would be nice for a doctor to know me too. So, like, I hope one day I can see, like, one of the greats, like Dr. Fink in Michigan. Like, I would love that. I'm not there yet. We're getting there. And on that, another reason why I'm so grateful for this information and for, like, I'm just going to be really grateful for myself for a second. Thank you, self, for never giving up and for looking and continuing to research even when doctors literally were sitting in front of me telling me it was in my head, like a neurologist sitting in front of me saying after 3 minutes of meeting me that it was all in my head, and then I'm crying in the office, and then he's like, oh wait, no, we'll order tests, but they still missed my brain tumor. But anyway, that's a different story. Different story, different time. Actually, I already made a video about that. It's right here. No, I'm kidding. You can find it. Anyway, yes, but I am here and I am happy, and I have 2 beautiful children, and if they end up having this genetic difference as well, I can be there for them. I can help them understand on this process as well. And like that research said, if this ends up working and having some improvements, this could be something that at a point of like first noticing symptoms in my children or one of my kids, that we could start them on this medication, supplement, whatever, after seeing a doctor, of course. I would never just throw my kids on a supplement. But it might be able to slow the progression or stop it. Who knows? I don't know. What do you know, huh? Mice, they're working on mice. SPG 7, too, specific. Oh, I feel like I've been talking a lot. I get very passionate. I'm excited. I haven't spoken this out loud yet. This is the first time. But yeah, shout out to my husband. He bought this. We decided to put the money in, even though we don't have a lot. And we're trying it out. And have I noticed any improvements on this? I will say that I noticed a difference in my energy levels. That combined with everything else. Because of this, I feel like I've had more stamina to be able to exercise a little harder than usual. And I really do wonder about like the flickering and the filtering out those proteins. And yeah, my nervous system might be damaged beyond any more improvements than this. Okay. I'm okay with that. I am grateful for that. I am grateful. I really am. Oh, I remember I got, but yeah, my great-grandmom, who was originally diagnosed with Parkinson's, who I'm like, pretty sure she might have had SPG 7, because she definitely, but she had diabetes, and I'm pretty sure she lost a foot to it or something. Or it might have been another grandmom. All right, don't check in with me. I need to get my details straight. But yes. All right, so let's review really fast. The bullet points. Do you guys remember them? Food, blood sugar balancing, pacing in exercise, and then what was the last one I was talking about? Decompression Physical Therapy. And then I'm also trying this. Obviously, Baclofen. Y'all should have a Baclofen on hand. Or 50, I rarely take Baclofen these days. I really don't like to take Baclofen, especially like the oral kind. Makes you really sleepy. And I'm trying to keep up with 2 young kids, and a dog and cats and all, taking care of a household, as well as taking care of business here at my art studio, as well as working part-time. And what else? Oh, and I'm involved in I'm a volunteer, and I'm a member of this, and I'm a this of this. I'm very busy. I'm a very busy person. I like it. I like it that way. I really do. What is that saying? Like the idle hands are the devil's playground. So, and my hands are already kind of like a playground. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to be entertaining now. Okay. So, all right. If you made it this far, if you have HSP, if you have specifically SPG 7 and you feel comfortable, please share your story. Let me know if you found anything that helped you too, because I will try it. I am hungry over here. No, I am interested in trying and learning new things, especially like seeing if I can improve. And I'm not like in an obsessive way trying to do this. Finding out these little things has been like one step at a time and one information, and then like a couple months later I'm like, oh, I learned this thing too. It's been a natural progression of learning new information that I can then compound and put together to create more improvement in my body. So I really am in like a beautiful stage right now where I'm pushing myself a bit more. And I was gonna say I'm not getting any symptoms, but I mean, you did just see that, but like that was that tightening of the muscle. I'm not gonna do that again. I've learned. So like my body still has its moments. I also have to watch eye muscle movements. If I look a certain way, or if certain kinds of visuals show up on the screen, like say there's like a tilting of the camera, that can kind of like cause me to have like a brain fritz and cause muscle spasms, which also, I mean, it sounds very seizure-y, but I've been tested for seizures, not a seizure, or at least non-epileptic, you know. It could be cataplexy, who knows? We still have questions. I'm looking for answers. I can't wait for the day that I get to sit down with a professional doctor who knows this condition and not says they know this condition because, well, this patient acted this way and stuff. It's like, well, you don't have it. I want them to take me seriously. I take me seriously. I took my health seriously. So please, next doctor, take me seriously. All right, else I'm gonna become a doctor. I'm not. I have a lot on my plate right now, so I don't have time for that. Do I have interest? I appreciate what doctors do, especially the ones that are really truly trying to find information out and do these studies that we can learn from. If only we could like actually see doctors that know the condition, though. That's where I'm at. Okay. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat, though. I was diagnosed, just for like really quickly, I was diagnosed when I was 34, 34 or 35. Around that age, I was diagnosed. I had a genetics full genome sequencing done, and we found this, and I had never heard of it before. I thought we were going to find EDS or like some kind of connective tissue disorder. And then I also had another gene variation for SCA, or like a related to SCA. And I noticed that there was overlap between SCA and SPG. So just a heads up that I did have another marker for another condition. So like I would love to sit down with a doctor who actually knows this stuff and can tell me about it. I would love that. I don't have names. If you have names, share them. If you like, but seriously, not someone who's going to dismiss me again because I'm young. Please. So yeah. And maybe it's not even because I'm young. I don't think I'm that young. I'm middle-aged, aren't I? Okay. All right. Okay. But yeah, so this is a happy post, though. This is a happy video. We learned a lot of really great information. We're empowered. We are moving forward. We are pacing ourselves. We are focused on blood sugar levels or anything that inflames our specific individual body. Okay. Okay. So on that note, thank you guys. What do I usually say? It's been a long time since I've made a video here. Okay. Oh yeah. All right, ready? Stay safe, stay strong, and stay tuned into yourself. Okay. All right. Bye guys.